right, so the public part of the Board of Assessment review for the town of Lysander for 2020 begins now. Because of our coronavirus restrictions, we were unable to have in-person presentations by property owners. And Governor Cuomo did suspend in-person grievance hearings this year because of virus concerns. So today, paperwork was submitted by property owners, drop-off and email, and in person since yesterday because the board, the town board and the office opened yesterday on a limited basis. The phone calls were made, we scheduled phone appointments, and board members, Board of Assessment Review members, contacted property owners concerning their assessment issues. So this is the public part of the meeting. The determinations and deliberations are not public, and they never have been, and that will be what the board decides at a later date. So this is the public part of the meeting for this year. Property Edward and Natalie Greenlee at 3600 Bucks Trail, currently assessed at $300,000, wishes their assessment to be $279,000. They submitted purchase of the property for $279,000 and a letter with 10 comparable properties, inventory, and pictures.
I spoke with them. Are you sure they want it to be 279? Because I have 292. They paid 279 January of 2015.
Well, they have on the paperwork 279.
Okay.
So okay.
Okay. So I spoke with Mr. Greeny at my 9 o'clock call. He was concerned about, like everyone, the increase in assessment in consecutive years. He provided a list of comparables, which I told him that we would go through, the entire board would go through. Like I noted, he purchased the house in January of 2015 for $279,000, and then he indicated he'd come up with a figure of $292,000. I told him we would evaluate all the information that he submitted and the information from the assessor, and that the full board would provide an answer within 2 weeks in writing from the assessor's office.
Okay. Camille Walker, 8251 Autumn Ridge Path, submitted a currently assessed at $273,000, wishes $245,000, submitted purchase of property for $245,000, April of 2020, and also appraisal information.
I had talked with her on the phone, and her main concern was we just bought the property, and why is it there's such a variation between the purchase price and what we have currently on the book. And I said, well, you know, we would look at, the purchase price was done late, April, we would look at it, but as it stands, the 273 was put on the books, but we would look at her purchase price in committee.
Okay, thank you. Johns and Alicia Oleski, 9 Mechanic Street, currently assessed at $125,000. And does anybody have the right paperwork? They've requested $125,000, so that must be an error. We'll have to check that. This is an exemption issue, and with a senior citizen exemption, they submitted an email and a letter. The copy of the denial letter and renewal application for a senior citizen exemption with 2018 and 2019 income tax returns.
Okay.
I have 9 Mechanic Street.
9 Mechanic Street, yes.
Okay, so I talked to the son-in-law, Robert Georgievsky, and he was excuse me, these are his in-laws, and he reviewed with me what they had sent and when they sent it, and I told him that I would review that information with the board and with the assessor to see what they had to show for that, and get a determination back to them.
Okay. Michael and Constance Russell, 13 Chaucer Circle, currently assessed at $219,500, wishes $210,000, And they submitted a letter with a survey map showing drainage easement in the back with pictures.
I talked with Mr. Russell, and he had two concerns. One, of the drainage easement in the back had been an issue for quite some time and hasn't really been addressed fully by the town. And the second issue was he had received a $6,300 increase on his assessment in 2019, and $6,500 this year. Thought that almost $13,000 was a little excessive. He understands that I tried to explain to him how you've got different parts of the town are looked at different times, and you have state issues that fall in, and he was somewhat relieved, or he wasn't violent by any means, but he was still concerned about that. And the easement, it's something that has been ongoing for quite some time, and I'm not sure anything is really going to be done on that by the town.
Okay.
We'll look at it.
Okay. Katrina and Wheaton and Kelly Fitzgerald, property located at 13 Lack Street, currently assessed at $110,000, wishes their assessment to be $100,000. They submitted the purchase of the property for $99,000 in 2009, 5 comparable properties with inventory.
I spoke with Katrina Whedon regarding her property. She added some information. There's a vacant lot that adjoins her property that is owned by Sal's Pizzeria. That's now, it was a residential lot, now it's commercial. He uses it for snow dumping grounds, and there's some pallets and so forth. I drove by it. There's still some there. Some of the stuff's been fixed, but she indicated that now, as early as 4 in the morning, contractors are moving snow and so forth into her location. She's worried that that commercial lot and its use nowadays is definitely affecting the value of her property. I told her that the board would look into it and we would get back to her.
Okay. Rebecca Grote at 7889 Sudley Way, currently assessed at $344,000, wishes the assessment to be $327,500. Submitted the purchase of the property for $326,000 in 2016. List of 5 sold properties with listing information and pictures of the neighborhood.
Okay, I spoke with Rebecca, and she was complaining that the comparables that were used were newer than her property and they shouldn't have been used. She did include some properties that we are reviewing now, the ones that she had looked at. She's also been complaining to the town regarding a brush pile that's behind her property. It's a large brush pile, not garbage per se, but distracting. And she has contacted the town regarding that, and the gentleman apparently just broke up the brush pile but didn't do anything else further to it. So she's still upset that that hasn't been changed. But I told her we would review the properties that she gave us and then we'd have determination for her.
Okay. Nancy and Thomas Delessen at 8142 Dexter Parkway, currently assessed at $168,000, wishes their assessment to be $163,000. They submitted a letter, pictures of the commercial property next door, and pictures of the backyard, copy of grievance determination from 2019, and the fact that they purchased the property for $157,000 in 2014.
I spoke with both Nancy and Thomas and about their property at 8142 Dexter. Again, in person, they raised their concern. Last year, their assessment was raised to $170. They came before our board. We lowered it to $163, and this year it was increased by $1,000 again. It's all about location with the deep thing. They got a deep ravine behind their property and close proximity to commercial. They don't feel that theirs is, compared to other properties in the area, should see a steep increase. I told them again we would look at it and make a determination.
Okay. Rocky and Lori Colella at 7 Shriver Drive, currently assessed at $185,000, wishes the assessment to be $178,000. They submitted a letter with a list of comparable properties with square footage. The number of properties submitted was 13.
I talked to both owners, and went over the list of 13 comps that they shared with us. Some of them are not in the immediate area and really shouldn't be used as comps for them. But they went on the square footage on some of the houses, or most of the houses, and I just told them that we would take a look at the remaining houses that we thought were comparable to theirs and evaluate it from there.
Linda Riley, 7728 Longbow Way, currently assessed at $571,500, wishes the assessment to be $414,567. Submitted purchase of the property for $647,567 in 2016. Submitted a letter with spreadsheet for 5 properties with assessments and house style with square footage.
I spoke to Linda Riley. This is, she and her husband have been working on this for a couple of years now, and they bought the property in 2016 for $647,000. Very large ranch, a lot of amenities, obviously, and they're looking for a reduction. And what they sent to us is 5 comparables. They were all ranch or colonial styles. The one neighbor is really what she was focusing on because they seem to be much lower in assessment than her property, though I did explain to them that ranches and colonials are quite different. The ranches are much more expensive to build. So I did ask her that if she could supply us with some ranches that we could compare, that I would think that would help her case potentially. So I know that she did send us some ranches a little bit later, so we'll review those and make a determination.
Okay. Rafif Hussein at 3274 Greenleaf Drive, currently assessed at $190,500, and with question marks is what they want the assessment to be. Submitted purchase of the property for $173,500 in 2004. That the comparable sales approach is not applicable because of the lack of sales. Valued property on property characteristics with a spreadsheet. Included a summary which indicated limited sales in the neighborhood. That the comparable approach included all houses that were not comparable to his, and that the comprehensive approach should be used to value his property.
I spoke with Mr. Hussein, pleasant gentleman. Like you said, he had his tentative assessment is $190,500. He put 4 question marks down. I told him that that's not suitable. He has to put a number in there. He gave me a number of $185,000, which I put on my sheet and initialed it. And then we went on and discussed his property. That was about it. So I told him we would review his information and get back to him.
Okay. Kevin Prouty, 1 Ronway Drive, currently assessed at $215,000, wishes the assessment to be $200,000. Submitted a letter listing 2019 and 2020 assessments and comparable assessments for 3 properties.
Talked with Kevin eventually, and told me basically the same story. And I didn't really see much additional information that he gave us on at least what I had available to me, and told that we would just be looking at what information we did have and making a determination.
Okay. Charles and Elizabeth Wright, 3017 Camerondale Road, currently assessed at $225,500, which is the assessment to be $210,000. Submitted a purchase for $169,000 in 1999. A letter with pictures of the backyard with drainage issues and the view.
I spoke with Charles Wright for quite some time, and he did explain to me a very long history of working with the town regarding his drainage in the back. Quite impressive that he actually knew everybody that had been working for the town for the past 10, 15 years. He indicated he had some photographs, which I didn't have at the time, but I was able to look at them later. He is saying that the building of Gloria Drive, which is behind his property, they created a berm behind Gloria Drive, because of the drainage issue, and then a lot of the homeowners on Gloria filled in the backyard so they were flat, and that caused additional drainage problems for him. And he feels, of course, that the town is siding with the Gloria Drive people. I did talk to him about the fact that he is showing some drainage problems back there, and that from time to time we have issued a potential reduction until the problem is resolved, like we did in many different communities that had some issues. I told him that was not a promise, but that we would look at it again. Also, he was questioning the change from the R code from R15 to R32. So that was just something else we discussed.
Okay. Joseph and Christine Visconti, property located at 1616 South Ivy Trail, currently assessed at $240,000. Wishes the assessment to be $231,000. Submitted a letter, copy of the assessment notice, informal review letter, and grievance day instruction sheet.
I spoke with Mr. Visconti. We discussed his increase. Mr. Visconti was kind of upset with all that was going on in the world today, or in the United States today, with the pandemic and people's ability. But I understood. I told him that the process had to go on. You know, that didn't exempt us. He was understanding, and it just raised his concern and asked that we would look at it and take a look. And I told him that we would.
Brian and Amber Getz, 8857 Dingle Hole Road, currently assessed at $140,000. Wishes the assessment to be $130,000. Submitted purchase of property for $130,000 in 2015, and a letter listing condition issues.
I talked with both of them. They were on the speakerphone, and their main concern is the condition of the property as it's gotten into disrepair. In the letter that they had sent us, they had noted a number of different issues: foundation cracks, kitchen appliances 20 years old, basement cracks, etc., etc., and they felt that 144 was rather high for the condition of the property. So I told them we would look at their letter and take into consideration their condition. They also have photos available, but they did not send them with the application, as far as I can tell. But they can give them to us if we need them.
Okay. Carol and Alan Barber, property located at 8499 River Road, currently assessed at $210,000. Wishes their assessment to be $180,000. And they submitted the purchase of the property for $245,000 in 2017. Letter listing sales and assessments for 4 properties, and in the letter, neighboring barn roof with a blue tarp with no pictures submitted.
I spoke with Carol and Alan Barber directly. They had on speakerphone, and we reviewed quite a bit of information. They purchased a property in 2017 for $245,000 because it is a ranch floor, and they also are across from the river. So they do have river rights. They did put a dock there. So the fact that they bought it for $245,000, they are looking for a new assessment of $210,000. She reviewed the property with me regarding the condition of the property. They say that it's like an old farmhouse. The barn, you know, she didn't speak a lot about the barn, but she did indicate that the home itself was relatively dated. I did look at the information from the assessor. I wanted to look at it in more detail because I was looking for properties that were closer to the river, because this is obviously a really nice frontage that they have, and I was trying to hope that maybe we could find some properties that had riverfront as well. But this being a ranch, you know, it's going to be difficult to compare it to colonials that are having river frontage. But I told her we review all the information and get a report back to her.
Okay. Todd and Beth Galloway, 45 MacArthur Road, currently assessed at $110,000. Wishes their assessment to be $103,000. Submitted purchase of property for $59,000 in 2003.
Yeah, I spoke with the Galloways. Basically, same issue. They're comparing theirs to a neighboring property, Tony Monticello, that has a double lot, and they feel that theirs is excessive as compared to his, and basically the complaint that it went up this year. I told them that we would review their information and get a determination to them.
Okay. Dorothy Geeman at 7599 Merle Ridge, currently assessed at $389,500, wishes the assessment to be $370,000. Submitted purchase of the property for $250,000 in 1994. Letter listing assessment changes for 2018, for 2019, and 2020, and the fact that they have no sewers.
I talked with both the wife and the husband, and that was, their biggest concern was over a 3-year period of $38,700 in assessment change, which is over 10% of the value of what it's assessed at currently. So that was their biggest concern. And the no sewers, obviously, we're not getting town amenities, and for that price, they didn't feel that if they had to sell their property, they could not get that at this point. And so mainly it's the large assessment over a 3-year period.
John and Elaine Corcoran, address 7973 Collington Point Way, currently assessed at $378,500, wishes their assessment to be $354,312. Submitted purchase of property for $356,500 in 2007. Letter and list of 6 comparable property sales.
I spoke with John Corcoran. We discussed the purchase that he made in 2007, and that he hasn't made any improvements, he indicated, since then. He says that the comparable properties are younger than his property, and that that should be considered. He hasn't finished his basement, he hasn't made any additions to the property, so that is why he's looking for a reduction.
Judith and Andrew Nemechek, 1680 South Ivy Trail, currently assessed at $310,000, wishes their assessment to be $280,000. Submitted purchase of the property for $255,000 in 2005. An appraisal for $280,000 in 2020 with appraisal information.
I spoke with the Nemecheks, and we went into detail about their property and the comparables that they submitted, the comparables that you had given me. And when I got into the details, they claim that their lot size that we have information on is incorrect. I told them that to bring that information, so proving that to the assessor's office, and that we could consider that information, so.
Okay. David and Jessica Edmonds, 7541 Woodcrest Drive, currently assessed at $195,000, wishes their assessment to be $180,000, and they submitted the purchase of the property for $206,500 in 2017.
I talked with the owner, with David, concerned that basically they hadn't done any major improvements or any improvements, and that that assessed value would be far beyond any of their neighbors. The list, he didn't give me a list of comparables. I'm not sure if there's one in the major file, but he had nothing really to prove his point.
Catherine and Chad Barnes, property located at 4046 Cortina Road, currently assessed at $306,900, wishes their assessment to be $293,210. Submitted a letter with 3 comparable property sales with listing information from Zillow.
I spoke with Catherine Barnes. I just wanted a clarification, please, because that's what my form said too, is $306,900, wanting $293,000. But then looking at the form later on, it did indicate that the new assessment could possibly be a tentative at $322,000.
We'll check that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll check
that
that.
slowed down the process a little bit, that the information wasn't correct. And so I told her that we would look at the data that she sent us. She gave us 3 comparables, and then we reviewed that with her.
Okay. Brian and Jesse LaCourte, Property located at 2166 Connell Terrace, currently assessed at $154,000, wishes their assessment to be $151,000. Submitted purchase of the property for $139,000 in 2004. A letter with 5 comparable property assessments with inventory information.
I spoke with the courts, and like I said, it's tentative of 154. They wanted 151. We reviewed the square footage, sale price comparables, and we're talking about $3,000 worth of difference. I told them we would review it, and we're right there. So
Okay.
it's pretty.
All right.
Basically, what you're seeing, what I'm seeing, is just the small incremental increases. People are balking at them,
Especially this year.
especially because of what we're dealing with.
Yep. Mark and Patricia Wierzbicki at 1751 Church Road, currently assessed at $95,000, wishes their assessment to be $93,000, and they submitted a letter with pictures.
Okay, I have that one. And I spoke with Mark, and he said he came in last year and he really hasn't fixed any of the problems, so it's the same problems that he's had in the past, foundation problems. With the garage in particular, he has big holes because he is in the garage, because he has a lot of chipmunks that are burrowing. And
Oh, they're so cute though.
he has an infestation of them.
Not when they get in your house.
Yeah. And they get up in the overhead of the house. And then he has a lot of mold and dampness in the basement. And he has a dug well, which the spring feeds the well up against the house and causes foundation problems and holes. And I have pictures, a lot of pictures, and I told him we'd look at it all and get back with him and
Okay.
review it.
Thank you. Irene Bardot at 15 Knights Circle, currently assessed at $170,000, wishes $168,500, and submitted purchase of the property for $163,500 in 2014. That they only have 1,592 square feet with 1.5 baths. The fact that their basement is not finished, and they built a storage shed in 2017.
I spoke with the homeowner. That's basically what she reiterated. She just compared her property to some of the comparables, noting its small size, lack of baths, an unfinished basement. She was also concerned about the $5,000 increase in assessed value from this year to last year. I told her about the process and that we would review all the information we had.
Jeffrey and Aaron Tyo, property 3019 Camerondale Road, currently assessed at $212,000, wishes their assessment to be $206,000. Submitted purchase of the property for $207,500 at 2018. List of assessments for 8 properties on Camerondale Road with increases for 2020.
I spoke with Jesse and Aaron Tayo regarding their thing. I asked them if they'd sent any pictures. They said no. They sent me the forms that I showed you, which after reviewing it, I seen that they had added a pool, but they had 2 subsequent forms from your office. So one was your increase and one was for an improvement. I told them I would review that information and we would get back to them.
Okay.
So we've had more than 2 on Camerondale, so we should just, I'm just gonna make a note.
Yeah,
so that
and
we
you're
can
seeing,
kind
I
of-
mean, it's 212 and they want 206, I mean, you're seeing small requests and it's,
David and Janie Musameka, probably killed that name. 1633 Rabbit Lane, currently assessed at $265,000, wishes their assessment to be $246,000. Submitted sales from Zillow of comparable properties, 3 of them. Assessments in the neighborhood of 5 comparable properties, 5 of them, and assessors comparable properties also submitted.
Okay, I spoke with David, and he was just concerned that he felt it was, square footage was too high. And he did submit a lot of comparables that and I told him we'd review them as a group. I'd submit it to the group and get back to him.
Alexander Cazzoli, 8 Runway Drive, currently assessed at $250,000, wishes their assessment to be $227,500. Submitted purchase of the property for $261,000 in 2017, and comparable assessments for 5 properties.
I spoke to the homeowner. I confirmed his purchase price in November 2017. He was most concerned with the increase of this year from assessed value of $231,000 to the $250,000. We talked about some comparison neighbors that I said we would look at as a board and make a decision.
Kelly Pierce, property located at 3107 Kingsbridge Lane, currently assessed at $240,000, wishes their assessment to be $225,000, and they submitted the purchase of the property for $201,000 in 2014. Comparable recent sales from listings, 5 of them.
I spoke with the Pierces in depth about their property. They indicated some improvements that they had made to it, and we've got record of that on the form, so I told them we would review all the information and get back to them.
Scott Georger, 1591 South Ivy Trail, currently assessed at $340,000, wishes their assessment to be $325,000, and they submitted the purchase of the property for $320,000 in 2016.
Yeah, I spoke with Scott, and his main concern was that they paid $320,000 in 2016, and they thought that a 13% raise in 4 years' time was too high. They have made no improvements to the property, and I told them we'd review it and get back to them.
Kathleen Legault, property located at 2 Curtis Ave. Tentative assessment is $105,000, wishes their assessment to be $97,500. Submitted on the form that there were no improvements or changes to the property, with notes.
I spoke to the homeowner. As you mentioned, she cited the increase this year of $7,500 in assessed value as her biggest concern, being as though she'd made no changes or improvements to the property.
Kayla Case, 10 Tabor Street, currently assessed at $100,000, wishes the assessment to be $53,600. They submitted the purchase of the property for $120,000 in 2019, a letter and a list of comparable property assessments with a map.
I spoke with Kayla Case, and her dad joined in on the conversation. This was her first time going through this process. So we talked about their purchase. Like you said, she purchased it for $120,000 in June of 2019. I asked the condition of the home, and they said it had all been remodeled. So I asked them how they arrived at $53,600, and they said that's what it was before. We reviewed that. We had discussion about the area and some concerns she had, and I indicated to her how she could go about dealing with that with village officials. I told her we would review the information and get back to her.
Becky Engels, property located at 8280 Emmerich Road, currently assessed at $216,500, wishes the assessment to be $210,000, submitted notes on the form, and indicated email of photos for the house and neighborhood that were not yet received. No changes or improvements to the property. Assessment increases 2 years in a row, and recent houses have sold at lower prices.
Okay, I spoke with Becky, and her concern was the neighbors. There's a lot of debris and old cars around. It was built 31 years ago with no new updates. Basement is leaking, the back porch is literally falling off and unusable, and they're on well and septic, private well and septic, so she just felt they were assessed too high, given those circumstances. And again, I told her we'd take another look at it and get back with her.
Okay. Artha Sosha, property located at 102 Brown Street, currently assessed at $105,000, wishes the assessment to be $85,000, and submitted a letter of condition issues.
I spoke with the homeowner. As you mentioned, he cited multiple rather major repairs that were required. He mentioned his elderly state and how he was financially and physically unable to perform these. Also cited his increase of $94,800 in value last year to $105,000 this year. said we would take this all into account and come up with a decision for it.
Okay. Lawrence and Wendy Majera, property located at 23.5 West Oneida Street, currently assessed at $145,000, wishes the assessment to be $135,000, and they submitted a letter with comparable assessments for 6 properties.
I spoke with the Majeras at West Oneida Street, discussed their concerns. We reviewed their comparables, and I told them that we would make a determination and get back with them.
Okay. James Piazza, property located at 55 Edgewood Drive, currently assessed at $143,000, wishes the assessment to be $130,000. Submitted a letter with condition issues listed with pictures and comparable assessments for 4 properties.
And I spoke with James, and he said it's a raised ranch, 1,687 square feet. And he has problems with woodpeckers that are causing problems in his backyard and his trees, and cause major roof problems and things. So, and it needs a new roof, and he's also got squirrels damaging things. Driveway's in bad condition. I believe there was pictures, and there's no upgrades in many years. It's dated like from the 70s, like a blue bathtub and like that. He feels it needs $30,000 to $40,000 of work to bring it to update it, and feels his comparables that he was compared to have new roofs, and they have backyards and all their driveways and everything are excellent condition, where his isn't there. So again, I told him we'd look at it and get back with him.
Okay, Joan Caraccione at 16 Curtis Ave, currently assessed at $85,000, wishes the assessment to be $70,000, and she submitted multiple notes on her form and multiple letters to the Board of Assessment Review.
I spoke to the homeowner. I had her highlight her top 3 concerns, as much of her note is illegible.
Yes.
She again cited her single status, lack of finances, and listed several major repairs that needed to be performed. She was also concerned with an increase this year from a value of $77,300 to the $85,000. And we talked about the process and how we would come up with a determination.
Robert and Karen Whedon, property located at 2161 Connell Terrace, currently assessed at $185,500, wishes their assessment to be $180,000, and they submitted a letter with 6 comparable property assessments with spreadsheet and inventory included.
I spoke with the Whedons regarding their concerns. Like you stated, they had a difference of $5,500. It was an increase from last year to this year they were concerned about. I told them we would review their information and your information and make a determination.
Okay. Eleanor Pelosi, property located at 9110-3 River Road, and she is represented by Pamela Bashores, currently assessed at $135,000, wishes the assessment to be $100,000. Submitted a letter detailing land values for neighboring properties, lists lack of sewers and road maintenance, condition issues with the property, and view issues from the property.
Yes, I spoke with Pamela, and it was her. She was speaking on behalf of Eleanor, who apparently is her mother, and she had concerns with the land value being too high, saying Eleanor's paying double what some of her neighbors are paying, and it's on a private road, so they have a lot of upkeep with that. Few people that are on that road. Wet basement, and the new issue that she said was going on was that Oswego County Soil and Water Conservation is going to do spraying down there with herbicides, and she's concerned about it getting into her well water, although they have told her that that won't happen and that it's a safe thing, but she's going to do water samples right after they do it, and then again in 6 months. So she's concerned about that new issue. And I told her we would review this and get back with her.
Okay. Libert and Cinnamon Calola. 3189 Olive Drive, currently assessed at $297,500, wishes their assessment to be $275,000. Submitted purchase of the property for $241,000 in 2003 and a letter.
I spoke with the homeowner. They didn't have any specific reasons for their wish. They did cite the increase this year from 283.3 to the 297.5, but otherwise didn't have too much information to warrant their wish.
Okay. Thomas and Janice Montfort, property located at 3629 Melvin Drive South, currently assessed at $265,000, wishes their assessment to be $250,000. And they submitted a letter and list of assessments of attached townhomes with inventory.
I spoke with her, and the main concern was they have a center unit. They have a smaller yard. They have only one window in the front. The end units have more visibility to the outside. Their lots are bigger, and they were assessed at less than what her center unit was. So her main concern is just that. Why are outside units getting assessed at less than her center unit? And also, she has only a partial finished basement, and she wasn't sure how it was on the record books, if it was finished or unfinished or partial.
Okay. James and Linda Robinson, property located at 10 MacArthur Road, currently assessed at $120,000, wishes the assessment to be $103,000. Submitted a letter, purchase of the property for $77,177 in 2001. Assessment roll page 369 from 2020. 4 listings for sale of comparable properties, 9 comparable property assessments, and copy of their 2020 county, town, village tax bills.
I spoke with James Robinson, and we reviewed the dollar per square foot that his property is assessed for, because that was something that was heavily used in the comparables that were given to us by the assessor. We had a little question about the square footage. Didn't seem like it was making a lot of sense, and then he admitted that there was a kitchen, small kitchen that was extended out the back. He wasn't aware of the discrepancy in the square footage, so I'm sure he wasn't trying to deceive us by any means. But I did review that the range from the comparables were $74 a square foot to $109 a square foot, and his new assessment would be at $76 a square foot, which is on the low end of the range. He also discussed the fact that he had a much smaller lot than the comparables that were on the assessments report.
James and Deborah Mascara, property located at 7977 Cowanton Point Way, currently assessed at $297,500, wishes the assessment to be $275,000, and submitted comparable assessments for 4 properties.
I spoke with James Mascara, and we talked about his request. He's said his assessment was $283,300, and you raised it to $297,500. He's wishing for it, like you said. He's claiming that he does not have 4 bedrooms that we have him listed for, and his building plans so note that one is listed as an office. I told him to call your office and have a data collector review that information to correct it, and then we could consider that in his request.
Okay. Ethel Frost, properties located at 7864 DeWitt Drive, which is the house, and property located at 7860 DeWitt Drive, which is a piece of vacant land. The vacant land, the house is assessed at $149,500, and the vacant land is assessed at $15,000. Wishes the assessment to be $145,000 on the house and $11,000 on the land, and she submitted a letter for the review.
Okay, I have not seen the letter, so I'm not sure what that does state, but her complaint mainly was that empty lot that is next to her. She used to be the last house on that street, and they've extended it evidently over the years, and that lot is wet and trashy in her estimation. That was a big concern. The value of her house, she's only looking for 145 instead of 149. She has nothing in my record here that indicates any condition of the house or anything, so I couldn't really talk to her about that.
Okay. Thomas and Suzanne Slack, property located at 7791 Gloria Drive, currently assessed at $292,000, which is the assessment to be $267,800. Submitted a purchase of the property for $275,000 in 2010. A letter with list of properties with assessments with increases.
I spoke with both of them, I believe. It might have been just Suzanne. I didn't make a note on that. But we did review square footage. There was additional 330 square feet that was located on the report under this two-bay garage. And I didn't quite understand. I was going to ask you about that, why that would be there instead of like basement. So that was something I was just going to check with you on that and check on the property card. I haven't seen the property card yet. And that the fact that they're asking for an assessment that's, 5 years ago, as opposed to even bringing them back to where they were. So we discussed that, and I told them I reviewed the property card for their square footage and the additional information they provided.
Okay. Sally Patterson, property located at 14 Mechanic Street, currently assessed at $95,000, wishes the assessment to be $92,400. Submitted purchase of $86,500 in 2008. Noted on the form condition of the property. Also noted assessment increases and overpaid sales of houses in the area.
I spoke with Mrs. Patterson. Everything that you said was her concern. She also indicated she's on a disability, fixed income. I explained the process. She also brought up the fact that due to the increased traffic flow through the village of Baldwinsville, especially in the afternoons, people are using Mechanic Street as a cut across, which, I understand that. She indicated with her concerns with O'Reilly Auto Parts now being on the corner, that's going to create some more traffic for her quiet street and the increase in school traffic and everybody driving to school these days. So all these concerns weighed in and were concerns of hers. I told her we would review it and get back to her.
Ronnie and Melanie Bruce, property located at 7663 Warriors Path, currently assessed at $317,000, wishes their assessment to be $295,000. Submitted a purchase of the property for $292,200 for 2012 with a settlement statement. Noted assessment increased in 2019 and 2020. No home improvements made. Comparable sales, there were 3 of them, and 8 comparable assessments and pictures of condition issues.
I have heard, and in their letter, their big complaint was they had a $24,500 increase in 2 years on their assessment. They also mentioned that they have numerous repairs that are in need but are currently unable to do them. Another concern which we've heard a couple of times on Warriors Path is the smell from the sewage treatment plant. And there's nothing we can do about it unless we can put a big can of deodorant between the plant and the houses. Then the property right behind them, which was all wooded, the people had cut all the trees down. So from a nice serene backyard, they're now looking at the roof and the back of the house on the next street over. So I told them we would take a look at so we can't do anything about the sewage, but we would take a look at the comparables that they had and see what could be done.
Teresa, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I had someone that was asking about that too, and they mentioned that they had actually heard that within a couple of years that something was gonna be done with the sewage treatment plant.
That's been an ongoing issue.
Is it a rumor, or is it?
I haven't heard anything concrete. I have heard that they are going to be doing something. I'm not sure
I
what.
tried Googling and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah,
on it,
it's in the hands basically of the county at this point,
but- okay.
okay? Michael, Ben, and Julie Bell, property located at 3267 Greenleaf Drive, currently assessed at $278,000, wishes their assessment to be $233,000. Submitted purchase for $255,000 in 2009. A cover sheet, comparable sales to assessment for property next door at 3265 Greenleaf Drive with pictures, also pictures of condition issues of their property.
Yes, I spoke with Michael Ben, and that was their biggest complaint, was the property next door that was bought basically as a potential flip house. The 3265 Greenleaf was purchased at $70 a square foot, which is very, very low. $220,000 it was purchased for. We talked about this quite a bit, the fact that you can't just compare one property, that when this person on 3265 goes to sell or is being reassessed, that he'll go up and he's obviously gone up in value. So he's looking at potentially, he's right now at $83 a square foot, where his neighbor is at $70 a square foot. His property also needs work. He talks about what he calls Burger King windows.
Yes.
I'm
I'm not sure what that means. But
I've
Those
never,
old ones that go out,
36
like,
years
yeah.
in real estate, I've never heard of anybody called Burger King windows.
Okay.
But he says that's how you can tell that they have not updated their windows, is they still have Burger King windows. I'm going to have to go up there and take a look at Burger King windows.
Actually, I think he submitted pictures
Did
and
he?
labeled the Burger King windows.
Did he?
Yes.
I'm excited
So
to see
you
that.
You might not have to take a field trip.
I am so glad to hear that, so
Okay.
that's it.
Matthew Mills, property located at 14 Mott Road, currently assessed at $135,000. Wishes their assessment to be $118,500 and submitted a letter. The property number changed for this parcel because property was added from an adjacent parcel and made it slightly larger. No improvements to the property and drainage issues at the back.
Yep, I spoke with Mr. Mills in depth about his property. I seen the form, and there was some landlocked property that adjoined his property to the rear, and 4 other properties. He acquired that property in exchange for some work with the owner, and which increased his backyard. We talked about his drainage issues during heavy rain conditions and the water coming down the street and across his yard. I told him we'd review all the information and we'd make a determination.
Okay. Catherine Frisch at 6 Mercer Street, currently assessed at $135,000, wishes for assessment to be $127,000. Submitted letter for the board, purchase of the property for $122,000 in 2009. A spreadsheet of Mercer Street assessments, a spreadsheet of Mercer Street area sales with a map.
I talked with her, and I didn't have copies of the maps, et cetera, but her big concern was that was the 3rd increase since 2017, and it equated to about 17.4% increase, which she thought was excessive. The letter, again, I haven't seen, but it's in the file. So all I could say is that we would look at the letter and evaluate according to the existing houses around her.
Kevin Merman, property located at 7836 Talamore Way, currently assessed at $409,000. Wishes the assessment to be $389,300. Submitted purchase of the property for $367,000 in 2016, and that a pool was installed in 2017.
Yes, we talked about the pool being installed and whether that was part of the increase or not. I asked him to look at his previous data to see if he'd gotten a letter with an increase because of the pool, because that would obviously justify the assessment being raised just by itself. He said he didn't remember that, but he'd look and see if he could find it. Right now at his new assessment, he's at $163 per square foot, and the range is that the town has is 136 to 167. He indicates his property is not upgraded like these other properties that he did include, 70/80/55, 70/80/52. I told him that we would take a look at those properties, but those properties are assessed dollar per square foot lower than his. So I told him that we would look at the cards, look at the data, and see what we can come up with.
Okay. Daniel and Catherine Dolan, property located at 7806 Halsey Lane, currently assessed at $340,500, which is their assessment to be $315,000, and submitted letter and purchase of the property for $312,000 in 2018.
The number that was on my sheet had a 315 area code, but the number that is on the property log showed a 607 because the gentleman I called. So anyways, I dialed the 607 number. It went to their answer machine and indicated that that's who they were. I left a message, who I was, time that I phoned, and told them that we would review their information and get back to them.
Austin Rawlings, property located at 94 Brown Street, currently assessed at $135,000, wishes the property to be assessed at $123,000. Submitted a letter, purchase of property for $120,000 in 2016, and comparable assessments for 5 properties.
I talked with him, and there was, in the file, there was a 5-line letter. That's it, 5 lines. And one of his indications was we have them listed as a 4-bedroom, and it's actually a 3-bedroom. The one room that is, it may have been a bedroom at one time, is now washer, dryer, and shelving. It hasn't decreased the square footage of the house, but it might be the indication of what that room can be used for. He indicated there was no closet in it, so my question is too, kind of, is it a bedroom or isn't it? No fireplace, and evidently we have them listed as a fireplace. Other than that, everything would pretty much comes right in line with the comparables that were provided.
Rosalia George, property located at 8785 Dingle Hole Road, currently assessed at $340,000, wishes the assessment to be $260,000, submitted purchase of the property for $340,000 in 2008, submitted comparable property assessments from the village of Camillus.
Okay, I talked to Rosalia, and I think her major complaint was the condition of her property compared to the comparable properties. She was tentative 340, she wants to be down to 260. She does have some acreage that I reminded her that was different than some of the comparables that she would provide possibly, but the foundation, she said, she had an estimate for an $8,000 repair of the foundation. The kitchen and the bathrooms have not been updated. She's on well and septic. I did ask her if she had supplied any photographs to the town, and she said she had not. So she just did.
Yes, she
She
did.
sent you some
She
photographs.
just did email me some pictures, which I have not printed, but I will get them for you for your deliberations.
That's great. That's a big help, and I'm glad she did that.
Okay. Megan Thomas, property located at 9424 Pendergast Road, currently assessed at $295,000, wishes the assessment to be $289,000. She submitted a letter and 3 comparable property assessments on Pendergast Road.
I spoke with Megan Thomas regarding her property. We went through her property details. Her house is built on 8.7 acres on the river. Her major concern was the neighboring property, which is a dual lot at 9434 and 9436. She claims the lot size is the same, and it's a much newer home than hers. I told her that when we deliberated, we would look at that property and make a determination.
Okay. Andrew and Diana Strurinski, property located at 3089 High Road, currently assessed at $60,000, wishes their assessment to be $57,000, and they submitted a letter of property condition issues.
I spoke with Andrew later this afternoon, and reading over his letter to us, indicates basically the house is very small, 850 square feet, no basement. The roof is 25 years old, the siding is old, there's a junkyard across the street, so it's condition of not only his property, but adjoining properties. And that there are, now never mind, I won't read that one. Yes, I will. There are three sex predators, 2 of them within 4 houses away. So that was a major concern also for him. But I told him we would take a look at the Potter's property across the street being a junkyard and take into consideration his condition of his house and get back to him.
Okay. Patricia Jakakis, 8241 Wheaton Road, currently assessed at $226,500, wishes her assessment to be $220,000. She submitted a purchase of the property for $160,000 in 1996, a letter listing 3 comparable property assessments and concerns.
Yes, I spoke with Patricia. Her main concern was the reassessment for the past 3 years of, now averaging 12 to 15% for the past 3 years. She did supply the comparables. I did not have them with me. I told her that I would look at them and that we'd have a review. I did talk to her about the dollar per square foot, but I would look at the comparable properties that she gave us.
Okay. Thomas and Dorothy Scabetta, property located at 7484 River Road, currently assessed at $185,000. Wishes their assessment to be $175,100, and they submitted the grievance form.
I spoke with Thomas. I questioned 175 because on the form I had,
There's multiple numbers there.
there was 181. So anyway, Mr. Shabeta claimed that he called the assessor's office, and whoever he spoke with told him that there was a 3 to 5% increase of all the homes in that area. So he said he would be okay with a 3% increase, but he took a little issue with the 5% increase. The 3% increase brought him to the $180,400, and he thought he'd be happy with $181,000. I told him we would review everything that he submitted and your information and make a determination.
Okay. Brian and Patricia Courtney, property located at 8975 East Mud Lake Road, currently assessed at $227,500. Wishes their assessment to be $13,300, and they submitted the purchase of the property for $231,000 in 2016, that they added a pole barn that was in used condition in 2017, and a note concerning flooding issues and the cost to cure the problem in the backyard.
I told him I would send him a check for $13,000 and buy the property, but he wouldn't go along with that. His main issue is flooding. Water in both April through May, September through October. Last year he had over 15 inches of water in his backyard. So it's a flooding issue, and doesn't feel that type of issue would warrant the assessment of $227,000.
John and Peggy Thomas, property located at 7856 Talamore Way, currently assessed at $246,500, wishes their assessment to be $427,000, and they submitted the purchase of the property for $419,180 in 2018, that they added a pool in the fall of 2018, and they submitted a letter.
Yes, this was another situation with a pool possibly being an increase because of a construction issue. I spoke with John, and we discussed the dollar per square foot. He actually was at $158 a square foot. The ranges, that's about as high as the ranges went. And another situation, he's not aware of an increase because of the pool, but I would suspect that there probably was an increase in 2019 because of the pool. So he was gonna look at that. And then, because he put the pool in the same year he bought it and just put the pool in right away. It wasn't included in the sale of the property, in other words. So, I told him that we would review that information, and, there was something else in here too, but I think, yeah, he talked about some comparables, and then I told him I'd look at them when I got them after we were able to get, after we discussed them, we'd look at the actual paperwork when I was able to do that.
Okay. Margaret O'Mara, property located at 1981 Lamson Road, which is a vacant lot. Assessment of $60,000, wishes it to be $45,000. 2010 Lamson Road, which is a vacant lot, assessed at $75,000, wishes it to be $55,000. And property located at 3634 Doyle Road, assessed at $140,000, wishes an assessment of $115,000. She submitted a spreadsheet of comparables for both property, both vacant land parcels, and she submitted a list of comparable property assessments with increases for the property at 3634 Doyle Road.
I spoke with Margaret O'Mara in depth about her 3 properties. We reviewed, she indicated the spreadsheet that she had put together. I indicated that I didn't have that, but the full board would when we deliberated. We went through the list of comparables for the vacant land, and I read off to her which the assessor's office had provided us, and instructed her that her values were actually at the very low side of per acre prices. She couldn't believe what people were paying for property, but we had a nice conversation, and it was, you know, I told her we would review it and get back to her. I guess that the house on Doyle Road, her mom had purchased for
Yes,
$148,000.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, and so we discussed numerous houses up and down Doyle Road, which I told her we would look into. Some of them she's indicated as got, you know, outbuildings and new pole barns and such, so I told her we'd look at everything and get back to her.
Okay. Kelby and Sabrina Valenti, property located at 7674 Warriors Path, currently assessed at $324,500, which is the assessment to be $309,000. And they submitted a purchase for $322,500 in 2018 and a letter for the board.
There's 7672.
7674. It's the one, it's the little.
Okay.
Yeah.
She had evidently sent in a 5-page letter to the assessor, which I did not have a copy of. Big increase evidently between 2019 and 2020. She had comparable sales of 3 for us to look over, and 8 assessment comparables, which again I did not have
In front of you.
before us, and also pictures of the condition of the property, which I did not have and could not comment on at the point.
Joe Muscolino, property located at 6420 Killow Road, currently assessed at $330,000, which is an assessment of $295,000. Submitted purchase for $240,000 in 2003. Improvements to a covered porch, a paver walk, and landscaping, and issues with the sewer treatment plant smell. Spreadsheet of comparables and an emailed letter.
Yes, I talked to Joe, and, you know, his major complaint was the waste treatment plant, and the increases over the past 3 years, which he feels are excessive. We talked about the range. He is on the higher end of the range for his neighborhood, and it should be in the younger homes are actually closer to the waste treatment plant. So he can't really say because he's an older home that he's, you know, I mean, that's a younger home, he should be less than that, because they're actually getting worse of smell than he is. So we discussed that, and I told him I would take a look at the comparables he supplied.
Okay. Rachel Glover, 96 Brown Street, currently assessed at $140,000, wishes the assessment to be $130,000. Submitted a letter with 2 houses that are comparable on the same street.
I spoke with Rachel Glover regarding her property. Like you said, her tentative assessment is $140,000. She wants it to be $130,000. She indicated to me that it was $111,200 and that it went up $28,800. And I asked her if there was any noticeable improvements or any improvements made, and she said no. So that put up a flag to me. So I told her we would look into it when we got the property information as a board.
Okay. Matthew and Dena Yeager, property located at 7672 Warriors Path, currently assessed at $303,000, wishes an assessment of $290,000, submitted a purchase of $272,000 in 2006, letter listing comparable properties with pictures.
I had talked with Matthew. Evidently, they had talked to their next door neighbor, which I also had, 7674 and 7672.
They were all over Warriors.
They had two houses that they were using as comparisons to their property, and that's all they could use, or that's all they did use, with those two properties. And one was like $8 a square foot less than what we used to determine their value. Looking at the other comps that we have, pretty much they fall in line with what we assessed them at, and basically told them you're pretty much in line.
Okay, this is a property owned by, purchased, this is a recent sale that we haven't seen the deed on. Jennifer Scott and Bentington Scott, property located at 2712 Hilton Wood Road, currently assessed at $406,500, wishes the assessment to be $325,000. Submitted a purchase of $325,000 in 2020 from parent, indicated parent to child. And appraisal information from time of sale was submitted that indicates a value of $365,000 for 2020.
Was this the most honest homeowner I think I've ever talked to? Oh my God. Okay, I was missing the second page of the document for the complaint, so I still need to see that. And I didn't actually have the information about the parent, because that's on the second page. Also, I didn't have the information about the purchase price. So, but they volunteered it, they just threw it right out there. They said, we purchased it for $325, but our bank appraisal came in at $365. I said, that's great, wow, did you was it on the market, or? And they said, oh yeah, we bought it from we bought it from a relative. I said, did you submit the bank appraisal? Oh yeah, we submitted the bank appraisal. I said, you guys are great, So, anyway, so I appreciated their honesty. They were really quite forthcoming on all the information on that, and I told them that we review the documents that they gave us and get back to them.
Okay. Jennifer and Vasilis?
Vasilis.
Yes.
Yeah. They call him Bill, though.
Oh, okay.
He told me that.
And Anios, is that close?
Yep.
2728 Hilton Wood Road, currently assessed at $351,500. Wishes their assessment to be $334,800. Submitted purchase for $325,000 in 2009. An email, a letter, and 5 comparable properties list.
Yeah, I spoke with Jennifer, and he gave me permission to call him Bill. He said that's what everyone calls him by. So we spoke in depth about his property. He's comparing his neighboring properties, and properties on both sides of them have pools. And during the pool building process, they have, put in some fill and some landscaping, and this has created an issue with his backyard being wet for multiple days after heavy rain conditions and the likes that we're seeing. I told him we would look at all the information, and if he had any photographs or whatever that he could drop off, but we would look at it and get back to him.
Okay. Mark and Ryan Harrison, property located at 3111 Gerald Lane, currently assessed at $98,000, wishes the assessment to be $95,000. Submitted purchase for $65,000 in 2000, and the change of assessment notice.
I had talked with them, and they had indicated that they had emailed some information to the office today?
I'll check. Some of the electronic copies that came in late today did not come through.
Okay.
The server bounced it back, but I will check.
He had a big concern about his neighbor across the street, and I do not know this name, John Pick,
I don't know.
but evidently not a nice character. And he was concerned about, I guess, safety in the neighborhood because of the individual.
Where does he live?
Gerald,
3111 Gerald Lane.
Yeah, I know the area,
So his main concern was the neighborhood, more than anything. He indicated really no big concerns. Looking at the comparables that were presented by the assessor's office, he's assessed actually under the range that the assessment office came up with. So, I mean, I personally don't see much of a change on this.
okay. Jeremy Cheney and Jessica Corcoran, property located at 7 Merlewood Parkway, currently assessed at $265,000, wishes their assessment to be $247,200, and submitted a $273,000 purchase in 2019.
Do you have a date for when that was in 2019?
Not in front of me, but I can look.
So I'm just wondering if it was before our cutoff.
I'm not sure, but I can look.
Okay, because that's what, you know, I had a long talk with him, really nice person, and he's very, very happy to be in Baldwinsville. He came into Baldwinsville because he needed the district for his son, who's got some disabilities. They were in a bidding war in 2019, so they went, they bought it for $273 while it was assessed for $247. They understand that they understand that they probably overpaid for the property, but they really needed to be in the district, and their hands were tied on that. We looked at the dollar per square foot for where he is. He talked about the property on 5 Merlewood, which is smaller, assessed for $240,000. And I was missing the assessment information report on it. I just had sales.
Okay,
I'll
I'll look into that.
That'd be great. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Jeff and Sherry Belsick, property located at 33 Chaucer Circle, currently assessed at $218,500, wishes their assessment to be $215,250. They submitted a spreadsheet of comparable properties, 3 properties with inventory.
I spoke with Jeff Belzick, and we reviewed everything that he had sent in and everything that you had provided, and I went in depth with him with the square foot comparables, and his price was, everything was right there. So with a good explanation, he felt a lot more comfortable just speaking with someone and going through each comparable property. I told him we would review his information, and he would get a letter from the assessor's office.
Okay. Donna and David Carriente, property located at 7565 Tater Road, currently assessed at $103,000, wishes their assessment to be $100,000, and they submitted the form.
They had just submitted it today.
Yes, they did.
And had no time to do any preparation as to looking at comparables, etc. They have not, according to them, have not done anything to improve their house after they built it, which was about 15 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. Young couple, she's just got out of the hospital, so I heard a story about the accident and how she can't work, etc. But there's nothing to show what the real value of the house is at this point. She just didn't have any comparables.
Okay. All right. Del Roby, property located at 1612 South Ivy Trail, currently assessed at $405,000, wishes the assessment to be $320,000. Submitted purchase of the property for $454,000 in 2005, and also submitted a market analysis done by Hunt Real Estate in 2019 for $360,000.
I spoke with the homeowner. We talked about the real estate assessment from last year. Basically talked about his hardships. He's lost his wife, has quite a bit of sentimental value to the home. Feels like he obviously overpaid initially. Has no intentions now of leaving. Is raising a son on his own. So we, talked about his property in comparison to some others and told him that we would work out a solution for him.
Crystal Ann Smith, property located at 3083 Hope Place, currently assessed at $100,000, wishes the assessment to be $85,000. Submitted an email, a letter, comparable properties with pictures of condition issues.
I spoke with Crystal Smith. She indicated that this was a USDA loan. I'd never heard of that, which indicated that she needed to, they were very picky on the properties that she could purchase. She thinks she overpaid. She bought it September 15th of 2017 for $117,000, but she wanted to be in the Ballsville School District for her child. I told her we would review the information and get back with her.
Camilla Moses, property located at 8223 Oswego Road, currently assessed at $145,000, wishes the assessment to be $133,900. Submitted purchase of the property for $80,000 in 2016, which is from a parent estate. Improvements to the property from 2017 to 2019, cost totaling $70,000, and a letter.
Evidently, after she started the improvements, she found some structural issues with the house. They had to tear the fireplace out. That is no longer part of the house. They also made from 5 bedrooms, it is now a 4-bedroom instead of 5. Mainly there were structural issues that didn't allow her to use the amount of money she had set aside to do the improvements to do them. They were just to keep the house standing. So she felt the house would not sell for what it's intended to be assessed at.
John Staffy Jr., a vacant property located at 8390 Oswego Road, currently assessed at $10,000, wishes the assessment to be $8,600. Submitted a letter, a map, and pictures of the property.
I spoke with John, and he was concerned that a lot of the land is wasteland and muck. And he felt the 25% increase was overassessed. So I told him, we'd review it and get back to him.
Where is that, Teresa?
I'd have to look. That came in this morning. I haven't looked at it.
That.
Annette Alexander,
Oswego.
what's that?
Yeah.
Oswego Road.
Oswego Road.
I'll have to look.
Yeah.
It's
Annette,
2.2 acres of property, but it's not all usable, that's what he's saying.
Okay.
okay. Annette Alexander, property located at 1961 Church Road, currently assessed at $144,000, wishes the assessment to be $139,000. Submitted a no assessment increase 2019 and 2020, no improvements, not on public water, and that they have well issues.
Yep, I spoke to the homeowner. Those are her 2 big concerns. The $16,000 increase over the course of the last 2 years, cited her problems with the well. No other concerns. Said we would review her request and get back to her.
Okay. Jeffrey and Maureen Wardwell, property located at 42 Artillery Lane, currently assessed at $115,000, wishes the assessment to be $103,000. And they submitted comparable property assessments for 3 properties. Nobody called?
It's not on my list.
Is that just that came in late?
No, they had a 3:40 p.m. It was one of the last ones of the day.
No.
42 Artillery Lane?
Yes,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Wake up, Don.
Gave us a scare there.
Don was- yeah, Don-
I
Don
gave
was-
you a heart attack.
Don, you're on
I was
camera.
having a senior moment.
You're on camera and you're napping.
Well, actually, because I had it on the other page, Their main concern was about the 26,000 increase between,
Yeah.
you know, last year and this year. Other than that, they have no issues with the town or no issues with anything else. It's big increase.
Okay.
Yeah. that's
All
pretty
right. Stephen Tatum, property located at 7827 Halsey Lane, currently assessed at $319,000, wishes the assessment to be $313,000, and submitted purchase of the property for $315,000 in 2016.
That would be, I spoke with Stephen, and he mostly just wanted to know, he moved in here from Massachusetts, and he wanted to know how we assess, and if we assess every single year. So I can't explain that, yes, we do look at the properties every year, but we only raise them or lower them if there's a percentage that's driven by sales or, you know, big certain percentage difference. And so he was just concerned because he's only been there a short time and it's been raised 3 times. But it's only been raised 4,000, even though he says it's been raised 3 years in a row. It hasn't been a big raise every time. So he just said, you know, anything we could do with the COVID and everything, he's worried about, you know, his taxes being higher. So I told him we'd look at it and get back to him.
Robert and Aaron Schefferling, property located at 49 West Genesee Street, currently assessed at $110,000, wishes the assessment to be $98,237. Submitted a letter, change notice, and spreadsheet with 3 comparable properties with pictures and inventory.
Okay, I attempted to call the Shirlings at 3:42 p.m. I got their voicemail. I left a detailed voicemail with my name and explaining who I was. Told them we would review their information. That's on my way home, so I drove by. It's a beautiful 2-family home on the river.
That's the one that has it's like really big and no landscaping in the front?
No, it's got landscaping in the driveways to the left and a garage out back. It's just, I don't know the street, but just past Gates's, about 3 houses past Gates's going on the left. So,
Wow, 2 family for $100,000.
I actually did talk to them.
oh, you did?
Whoa, okay.
Oh, they called back?
Yeah, that was our double phone call. We
Oh,
only
okay.
had one
Talked to them
today.
before that, I think.
Okay,
So got your message.
interesting.
Somehow they got 2.
Yeah,
That's good.
but yes, same thing, we discussed, you know, it's a 2-family rental, he compared it to some neighbors, you know, we discussed the, you know, price per square foot, and discussed how he came to his valuation, and, you know, said we would review that.
It's one of the nicer, you know, surprisingly impeccable condition from the outside for a rental property. I was impressed when I drove by, so that's all.
Is it rented now, fully rented?
I didn't ask.
All right. Virginia and Michael Kempesty, vacant land, property located at 6 Chaucer Circle, currently assessed at $10,300, wishes the assessment to be $2,000. And they have submitted a request, demand for an alternate hearing date because they are out-of-town property owners, and numerous comparable assessments for review.
Okay.
This the one that bought during an auction?
Yes.
Okay, so they've come in many times.
I attempted at 5:48 p.m. to call the number provided, 315-488-9477. That's the number provided on the form. It rang, I let it ring 20 times. There was no answering machine, no nothing. And Mr. Kempesty had indicated to the assessor that he needed an evening call, so that was an evening call. We made an attempt, and there was no answer and no way to leave a message.
Okay.
They've come in quite a number of times. She bought it at an auction without looking at the property, and it's
Yep.
not really buildable.
Okay. All right, the following are paperwork only, submitted today in prior for the board's review. Joanne Winings, property located at 10 Spruce Street, currently assessed at $70,000, wishes to be $66,200, indicates purchase for $45,000 in 1997, and there's a letter for the board to review. with one picture. Property located, owners Raymond and Gail Subert. Property located at 181 Goodfellow Lane, currently assessed at $206,000, wishes their assessment to be $195,000. Indicate purchase of property for $191,700 in 2005, and have submitted comparable assessments and a letter for review. James and Megan Grupke, property located at 2733 Hilton Wood Road, currently assessed at $319,000, wishes the assessment to be $303,900. Indicates purchase for $295,000 in 2007, and they have submitted a letter and an email with comparable properties for the board's review. Hand delivered from Diorigo and Coot, from Mario Diorigo Esquire. Grievance complaints for 8 lots in Highland Meadows, Section 3A, 8 lots Highland Meadows Phase 2, a .64 acre parcel located in Highland Meadows, and a 23.02 acre parcel on West Genesee Road. He has waived his right to a grievance hearing, and he has submitted a map detailing the limitations and the other comparable property assessments, and the indication of the increases for the vacant land for this year. Also submitted to the Board of Assessment Review, I firmly believe that Assessor Golden did not eliminate the IRA distribution from my total income as pursuant to New York State Department of Taxation and Finance Real Property Tax Services website, and this is for paperwork only, and it concerns an exemption. Okay? And so we will, and she has submitted that income information for your review.
Is that like a senior exemption?
It's a senior exemption, and she's thinking that we counted income that we should not have counted, but we will review that, and I will provide information that's paperwork only for your deliberations. McLean Company has submitted a request for parcel located at 2828 McLean Drive, currently assessed at $12,500, wishes their assessment, or yes, $12,500,000, wishes their assessment to be $9 million, and this is a current court case requesting no change. And the Timberbanks Apartments have submitted paperwork only for parcel 071.1-01-01.1, parcel 072.1-01-01.2, and 072.1-01-2, and all of these are current court cases, and we request no change. And that concludes the public information for the Board of Assessment Review for the Town of Lysander for 2020. As indicated, the Board of Assessment Review will now deliberate the information provided, and property owners will be notified by mail in approximately 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Teresa. And we'll clap for that.
And that's it.
Great.
Thank you.